In this video, we will compare and assess the global warming potential for the production of electricity by LCAs from two different sources, rapeseed oil and chicken manure. In order to make the two life cycles of electricity production comparable, we defined a functional unit 1 kWh of electricity delivered to the end consumer for both systems. So let's look now at the two different production chains that are required to generate electricity from co-combustion of rapeseed at the right and from combustion of dried chicken manure at the left. First, the rapeseed chain. It consists of several consequential processes, of which the first one is the growing of the rape plants. It delivers two outputs, the wanted rapeseed and the unneeded straw. To determine to which extent the environmental impact of this process is caused by the seed and to which by the straw, we have to make an allocation. To allocate between the seed and straw, we make the assumption that using the lower heating value is the most appropriate, because it represents the energy content of the crop. And in the end, the energy content is of interest for electricity production. After the production, rapeseed has to be transported, dried and stored and pressed. The resulting rapeseed oil is then transported to two different electricity generation facilities, a co-combustion engine with fossil fuels and a combined heat and power plant. As you see, there are three more moments within the chain that require allocation. However, these are fixed values and are therefore not of further interest to us. At the end of our functional unit, a kilowatt-hour of electricity power is delivered to the customer. Let's now look at the second chain. This one is a bit more complicated, because the chicken manure we use is originally a waste from agriculture. Only by using this waste for electricity production it becomes a valuable good. Again, this requires an allocation. We have to decide how, but also where to allocate. This decision highly influences on the process' overall performance. To take this into account, we will create two scenarios. In the first scenario, we assume that in the Netherlands, chicken manure is always collected at the farms to be dried centrally and then sold as fertilizer, and that the process of transport and storage are still part of the waste treatment process. Only at the stage of drying waste becomes a good, which is further on used for electricity generation. Hence, here we allocate. Again, we do this based on the lower heating value. Given that a waste becomes a good, we could argue that an economic allocation according to the prices of the flows would also make sense. However, a comparison should be based on consistent assumptions. Therefore, we stick to using the lower heating value for all allocations. Only the environmental impact of the remaining stages, drying, combustion and transmission, will be accounted for in our LCA. For the second scenario, we assume wider system boundaries. We assume that chicken manure becomes good at a moment, the entrance to the electricity production chain. In this case, no allocation has to be made and the impact of all process stages count to the LCA. To sum up, we now have three different chains to be compared. The process along these chains causes emissions of carbon dioxide, methane and dinitrogen monoxide to the atmosphere. However, it has to be mentioned that emissions of biogenic CO2 are seen as part of the natural carbon cycle and do not add up to determine the global warming potential of 1 kWh of electricity output. So, which type of generation performs the best?
Created using PART1.